The Valorian observation ship floated silently in the darkness beyond Neptune. It had been there for 300 years, watching the small blue planet called Earth. The Valorians were an ancient race. They had traveled between stars when humans were still living in caves. They believed they understood the universe and all the creatures in it. Senior observer Kethval stood before the great viewing screen. His pale blue skin shifted to gray as worry filled his mind. Behind him, 12 members of the High Council waited in their floating chairs. They had come a long way to hear his report, and he knew they would not like what he had to say. "The humans have discovered faster than light travel," he announced. "Our calculations were wrong. We thought they needed 3 more centuries. They did it in 50 years. The council chamber fell silent. On the screen, Earth rotated slowly. Its cities sparkled like tiny lights against the dark side of the planet. Small ships moved away from the planet, their engines glowing with a strange blue fire. Council leader Myra V's leaned forward. Her 4 eyes narrowed with concern. "Where are they going?" "The Kepler system. They have found our listening station there." Worried sounds filled the chamber. The Valorians had kept their presence secret for so long. Now the humans were coming. "There is more," said Kethval. "They do not think the station belongs to us. They believe it belongs to the Draven." Everyone in the room knew the Draven. They were a violent species that ruled over 40 star systems. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who stood in their way. 2 years ago, Draven warships had attacked a human colony vessel called the New Hope. They had killed over 4,000 humans, including many children. "The humans are calling this mission Operation Reckoning," Kethval continued. "They have sent 12 warships and 15,000 soldiers." Young council member Tithnu spoke up. "The Draven have conquered entire civilizations. They have thousands of ships. Surely the humans cannot fight them with such a small force." Kethval's skin turned deep violet. This was the Valorian sign of fear. "You do not understand. The humans are not trying to conquer the Draven. They are trying to hurt them. They are trying to make them afraid." Myra V's looked troubled. "Can such a small force really frighten the Draven?" "Watch," said Kethval. "Watch and see what humans do when they are angry." Far across the galaxy, Commander Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the USS Valiant. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 30 years fighting in one war or another. He had buried many friends. He had seen terrible things, but this mission was different. This time, he was not defending anything. He was hunting. "Commander, the scout ships have sent back information," said Lieutenant Maria Santos. She was young, only 25, but she had proven herself brave and smart. Hayes trusted her completely. "Show me." The main screen changed. It showed a huge space station floating near a dead moon. The station was round, covered with weapons and sensors. Around it floated at least 40 Draven warships. "A command station," said Hayes. "This is where they control all their ships in this area." "They have many defenders," said Santos. 40 warships, maybe more." Hayes smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Good. I was worried this would be too easy." He pressed a button on his chair. "All ships, this is Commander Hayes. We have found our target. Remember why we are here. Remember the New Hope. Remember our families. Today, the Draven learned that attacking humans has consequences." On another ship called the Nightfall, Captain Benjamin Cole listened to the message. He was an older man, a friend of Hayes for 20 years. He had volunteered for the most dangerous part of the mission. His ship would strike first. His ship would probably not survive. His crew knew this. They had all volunteered anyway. "Are we ready?" Cole asked his people. "Ready, Captain." They answered. Cole thought about his wife back on Earth. He thought about his children and grandchildren. He had recorded messages for all of them. He had said goodbye in his own way. "The Draven killed 4,000 of our people," he said to his crew. "Women, children, families. They thought we were weak. They thought we would be too afraid to fight back. Today, we teach them how wrong they were." The Nightfall's engines powered up. The small ship began to move toward the enemy fleet. Back on the Valorian observation vessel, Kethval watched with growing unease. He had spent decades studying human history. He had read about their wars, their conflicts, their endless struggles against each other and their world. He knew something that the Draven did not know. Humans were dangerous. Not because they were the strongest or the smartest. Many species were stronger and smarter. Humans were dangerous because they never gave up. They faced impossible situations and found ways to win. They sacrificed themselves for each other without hesitation. And when someone hurt their families, they became something terrifying. "The small ship is moving toward the Draven fleet alone," observed analyst Yethra. "What is it doing? It will be destroyed in seconds." "It is not trying to survive," said Kethval quietly. "Watch." The Nightfall flew directly into the middle of the Draven formation. Its weapons fired in all directions, destroying 3 enemy ships before anyone could react. The Draven commanders shouted orders, trying to understand what was happening. Then the Nightfall exploded. But this was no ordinary explosion. The humans had turned their entire ship into a bomb. A ball of white fire expanded outward, consuming everything it touched. When the light faded, 9 Draven warships were gone. Destroyed in an instant, Kethval's skin went completely white with shock. "They killed themselves," whispered Yethra. "They destroyed their own ship with themselves inside it." "Yes," said Kethval. "This is what humans do. This is why they are so frightening. They are willing to die if it means protecting their people. They are willing to sacrifice everything." On the bridge of the Valiant, Commander Hayes watched the explosion that had claimed his old friend. He felt grief, but he pushed it aside. There would be time to mourn later. Right now, he had a battle to win. "All ships, attack," he ordered. "Make their sacrifice count." The human fleet surged forward into the chaos. The war had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The battle at the Kepler system was unlike anything the Valorians had ever seen. Their observation ship stayed far away, hidden by advanced technology that made it invisible. Inside, Kethval and his team watched every moment of the fight. The Draven had 40 warships. The humans had only 11 now after the Nightfall sacrifice. By every logical calculation, the Draven should have won easily. They had more guns, more soldiers, more ships. They had centuries of experience conquering other species, but the humans did not fight the way other species fought. Commander Hayes sat in his chair on the Valiant's bridge, calm and focused. Around him, his crew worked with perfect efficiency. Every person knew their job. Every person did it without hesitation. "Enemy ships forming attack pattern," reported Lieutenant Santos. "They're trying to surround us." "Let them try," said Hayes. "All ships, execute pattern Delta. Stay close, protect each other. Pick your targets carefully." The human fleet moved like a single creature. Each ship covered the others. When Draven missiles came close, the human point defense guns shot them down. When Draven warships attacked, the humans struck back twice as hard. The Draven commander was confused. He had expected the humans to run after losing their first ship. He had expected fear and chaos. Instead, he faced cold determination and deadly precision. "What are they doing?" he shouted at his officers. "They are outnumbered. Why won't they retreat?" No one had an answer. On the Valiant, Hayes watched the battle unfold. His ships were taking damage, but they were giving far more than they received. Every shot his gunners fired seemed to find its mark. Every maneuver his pilots made put them in the perfect position. "The enemy command ship is exposed," said Santos. "Their formation has a gap." Hayes saw it too. The Draven had made a mistake, leaving their largest ship without proper protection. "All ships, focus fire on the command vessel. Take it down." 11 human warships turned their weapons on a single target. Missiles and energy beams tore through the Draven command ship shields. The great vessel tried to retreat, but it was too slow. Within minutes, it was burning. When the Draven command ship exploded, the rest of their fleet fell into confusion. Without orders from their leaders, the Draven captains did not know what to do. Some tried to continue fighting. Some tried to run. None succeeded. Watching from far away, the Valorians could not believe what they were seeing. 23 Draven ships destroyed, reported Yethra. "The humans have lost 2 more vessels, but they are winning." "How is this possible?" Kethval understood. He had seen this pattern in human history, again and again. "The Draven fight for conquest," he explained. "They fight to take things from others. When the battle becomes difficult, they think about saving themselves. The humans are different. They fight for revenge. They fight because the Draven hurt their families. They will not stop until the enemy is destroyed or they are dead. There is no middle ground." The battle continued for 2 more hours. When it finally ended, the Draven had lost 31 of their 40 warships. The rest were damaged and running away. The human fleet had lost 4 ships, with 3 more badly hurt. But they had won in the wreckage of the Draven command station. Human Marines were already at work. Captain Lisa Morgan led her team through the burning corridors. She was a small woman with red hair and fierce eyes. She had fought in 3 wars already, and she was very good at her job. "Find their computers," she ordered her soldiers. "Download everything. Maps, communications, fleet positions. I want to know where every Draven ship in this galaxy is hiding." Private Kevin Brooks was the youngest member of her team. He was 19 years old and scared, but he did not let it show. He followed his captain through the smoke and fire, his weapon ready. They found the Draven command center after fighting through dozens of enemy soldiers. The room was filled with screens and consoles, all showing information about Draven operations across dozens of star systems. "This is it," said Morgan. "Brooks, start the download. Everyone else, hold the door. We need 5 minutes." The Draven sent soldiers to stop them. Wave after wave came through the corridors. Morgan's Marines held them off, fighting with desperate determination. 3 of her people died defending that room, but they got the information. When the download was complete, Morgan called for evacuation. The surviving Marines retreated to their shuttles and flew back to the fleet. Behind them, the command station began to tear itself apart, its reactor damaged beyond repair. Commander Hayes reviewed the captured data on the Valiant's bridge. What he saw made him both happy and sad. Happy because he now knew exactly where to find the Draven. Sad because he understood how much more fighting lay ahead. "Their homeworld is here," he said, pointing to a map. "Draven Prime, the heart of their empire. If we strike there, we end this war." "Sir, that's a long way from here," said Santos. "And they will have many more ships defending their home." "I know, but we didn't come this far to stop now. Signal the fleet. We're moving out." On the Valorian observation ship, Myra V's had arrived to see the battle's end. She stood beside Kethval, watching the human fleet prepare to leave. "They're going to attack the Draven homeworld," she said. "With what remains of their fleet. Yes, they will face thousands of enemy ships. They cannot possibly win." Kethval's skin shifted through several colors as he thought about this. "Perhaps not, but they will try anyway. And whatever happens, the Draven will never forget this day." They will never forget what humans are capable of. Myravis looked at the small human ships, battered and scarred, but still moving forward. We have watched many species rise and fall, she said. We have seen empires built and destroyed. But I have never seen anything like these humans. Neither have I, agreed Kethval. And that is what frightens me most. The human fleet jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the ruins of the Kepler system behind. Ahead of them lay the Draven homeworld and a battle that would decide the future of both species. Behind them, the Valorians followed, recording everything. The galaxy was about to change, and they wanted to see exactly how it happened. The journey to Draven Prime took 6 days. During that time, the human fleet made repairs and planned for the battle ahead. They knew what they were facing. They knew they were outnumbered. But none of them talked about turning back. Commander Hayes spent most of his time in his quarters, studying the information captured from the Draven command station. The data showed him everything about the Draven Empire. Their military strength, their weaknesses, their fears. He learned that the Draven had conquered 23 different species. He learned that they ruled through terror and violence. He also learned that they had never faced an enemy that fought back this hard. On the 3rd day, 5 more human ships arrived to join the fleet. They had been sent from Earth as soon as the first battle reports came in. 17 ships total now. Still not enough to match the Draven numbers, but enough to make a difference. Captain Morgan came to see Hayes in his quarters. She was still recovering from wounds she had received during the assault on the command station. A bandage covered her left arm, and she walked with a slight limp. But her eyes were clear and determined. "The Marines are ready," she told him. "We lost good people at Kepler, but the survivors are angry. They want to finish this." Hayes nodded. "We all want to finish this. The question is whether we can." "Permission to speak freely, sir?" "Always." Morgan sat down across from him. "I've been a soldier for 15 years. I've fought in wars on 3 different planets. I've never seen anything like what happened at Kepler. Our people fought like I've never seen before. They sacrificed themselves without hesitation. They protected each other no matter the cost. What's your point?" "My point is that the Draven don't understand what they've started. They think this is just another war. They think we'll get tired and go home. But this isn't about territory or resources. This is about justice. We won't stop until we get it." Hayes was quiet for a moment. He thought about Captain Cole and the crew of the Nightfall. He thought about his own daughter, who had died on the New Hope with her husband and children. "You're right," he said finally. "We won't stop, whatever it costs." Far away on Draven Prime, High Admiral Crathfire prepared his defenses. He had gathered the largest fleet in Draven history. 3,000 warships waited in orbit around the planet. Ground forces numbered in the millions. Every weapon was ready, every soldier trained and armed. And yet, he was afraid. The reports from Kepler had disturbed him deeply. 40 of his ships destroyed by a force less than a third their size. A command station supposedly impregnable, captured and destroyed by a handful of human soldiers. It should have been impossible. His advisor, Vethsal, came to him with more troubling news. "I have been studying human history," Vethsal said. "I wanted to understand how they fight, how they think. What I found is concerning. Speak." "The humans have been at war with each other for their entire existence. They have spent thousands of years developing weapons and tactics. Every generation has fought. Every generation has learned from the one before. They are not like the other species we have conquered. Those species had known peace for centuries before we arrived. They had forgotten how to fight. And the humans? The humans have never forgotten. War is part of their nature. They are born to it." Crathfire stared at the screen showing his massive fleet. "We have 3,000 ships, They have less than 20. Numbers alone did not save our forces at Kepler. What would you suggest? Vethsal hesitated. I would suggest we negotiate. Offer them something they want. End this before more blood is spilled. Krathvir's face twisted with anger. Negotiate? With these creatures? They are insects. We are the Draven Empire. We do not negotiate. Then I fear many Draven will die before this is over. The Valorian observation ship arrived at Draven Prime 2 days before the human fleet. Kefval positioned his vessel far from the coming battle, using asteroids and debris as cover. Council leader Meraviz stood beside him at the viewing screen. They watched the enormous Draven fleet arrange itself around the planet. It was an impressive sight, thousands of warships glittering in the starlight. Surely the humans cannot defeat this, said Meraviz. Even with their tactics, even with their determination. There are too many. Kethval did not answer immediately. He was watching something on his smaller screen. Records from human history. Images of battles fought long ago on Earth. Do you know what the humans call this? He asked. When a smaller force attacks a larger one against all odds? No. They call it a desperate gamble. Or sometimes they call it a last stand. Throughout their history, humans have found themselves in situations like this. Surrounded, outnumbered, facing certain defeat. And what happened? Sometimes they lost. Sometimes everyone died. But sometimes they won. Against all logic, against all reason, they found a way to survive. They call these moments miracles. Meraviz looked skeptical. You believe in miracles? I believe in humans. I have studied them for decades. I have seen what they accomplish when they have no other choice. I would not bet against them. On the 6th day, the human fleet arrived at Draven Prime. The 17 ships dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the system. Before them lay the enemy homeworld, surrounded by 3,000 warships. Commander Hayes looked at the enemy forces on his screen. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he smiled. Lieutenant Santos, open a channel to the fleet. Channel open, sir. This is Commander Hayes. I know what you're all seeing. I know the numbers. We are 17 ships against 3,000. By any normal calculation, we should run away. He paused, letting his words sink in. But we're not going to run. We didn't come all this way to turn back now. The Draven killed our families. They killed our friends. They thought we would be too afraid to respond. They were wrong. He stood up from his chair. Today, we show them what happens when you threaten humanity. Today, we make them understand that attacking us has consequences. Today, we either win or we die trying. There is no other option. Across the fleet, human soldiers listened to their commander. They checked their weapons. They prepared their ships. They made peace with what was about to happen. All ships advance, ordered Hayes. It's time to finish this. The Battle of Draven Prime began at sunrise on the planet below. Not that it mattered in space, where there was no day or night. But the humans marked the time anyway. They wanted to remember exactly when the fighting started. High Admiral Krathvi watched the tiny human fleet approach. 17 ships against his 3,000. He should have felt confident. Instead, he felt a cold fear in his stomach that he could not explain. They are insane, muttered one of his officers. They must know they cannot win. They know, said Krathvi quietly. They simply do not care. He gave the order to attack. 500 Draven warships broke formation and rushed toward the human fleet. They expected an easy victory, a quick end to this foolish invasion. They were wrong. Commander Hayes had planned for this moment. He knew the Draven would attack with overwhelming force. He knew they would expect the humans to scatter or retreat. So he did something they never expected. All ships, hold position, he ordered. Let them come to us. Wait for my signal. The Draven attack fleet raced forward. Their weapons began to fire when they came in range. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between the two forces. Still, the humans waited. "Commander, we're taking hits," reported Lieutenant Santos. "Shields are holding, but we can't take this much longer." Wait. The Draven ships came closer. They grew confident, seeing the humans just sitting there. They spread out, each captain eager to claim kills for themselves. "Now," said Hayes, "execute scatter pattern 7. The human ships suddenly exploded into motion. They split apart in every direction, moving faster than the Draven thought possible. The enemy formation spread out and disorganized. Could not track them. Then the humans struck back. They came at the Draven from all sides at once. Each human ship targeted a single enemy, destroyed it, and moved on before the others could respond. It was like watching wolves attack a herd of confused animals. Within 10 minutes, 100 Draven ships were destroyed or crippled. The human fleet had lost only one vessel. Watching from his command ship, Craftfire felt the fear grow stronger. "Send in the second wave," he ordered. 1,000 ships this time. Overwhelm them. The Valorians recorded everything from their hidden position. Kethval's skin changed colors constantly as he watched the battle unfold. "They are using tactics I have never seen," he said. "Every move is planned. Every action has a purpose. It is like they know exactly what the Draven will do before they do it." "How is that possible?" asked Myra V's. "Humans call it military doctrine. They have spent centuries developing ways to fight larger forces. They have entire schools where they teach nothing but war strategy. Their officers study battles from thousands of years ago, looking for lessons they can use." On the screen, another group of Draven ships exploded as the humans tore through them. "The Draven are brave warriors," Kethval continued. "But they have never faced an enemy like this. They conquered weaker species through raw strength. They never needed clever tactics or careful planning. The humans are showing them the cost of that arrogance." The battle continued for hours. The Draven threw wave after wave at the human fleet. Each time, the humans adapted, changed their tactics, found new ways to survive. But they could not survive forever. The carrier Endurance was the first major loss. She had launched all her landing craft for the ground assault on Draven Prime. When a swarm of enemy fighters targeted her, she could not run. Captain Ruth Adams, commander of the Endurance, made her decision quickly. She ordered all non-essential crew to the escape pods. Then she turned her dying ship toward the largest concentration of Draven vessels she could see. "Helm, full speed ahead," she ordered. The Endurance plowed into the Draven formation like a burning comet. When she exploded, she took 23 enemy ships with her. On the Valiant, Commander Hayes watched his friend die. He felt grief, but he pushed it down. There would be time for mourning later if he survived. "Sir, we're receiving reports from the ground teams," said Lieutenant Santos. "Captain Morgan has reached the capital city. They're fighting toward the Imperial Palace. Tell her to keep pushing. We need to end this before we lose any more ships." On the surface of Draven Prime, Captain Morgan led her Marines through streets filled with burning buildings and screaming enemies. The Draven were fighting hard to defend their homeworld, but the humans were fighting harder. Private Kevin Brooks stayed close to his captain. He had killed more Draven today than he could count. His hands were shaking, but his aim was still steady. "The palace is just ahead," shouted Morgan. "One more push, and we're there." A Draven soldier appeared from behind a wall. Brooks shot him without thinking. Another took his place. Brooks shot that one too. They reached the palace gates, a massive structure of metal and stone. Draven guards stood ready to defend it with their lives. "Grenades," ordered Morgan. "Clear a path." Explosions tore through the gates. The Marines rushed forward, firing at everything that moved. The Draven gods fell one by one. Inside the palace, High Admiral Krathvius received the news that humans were inside his walls. He could hear the sounds of fighting getting closer. His advisors urged him to escape, to run while there was still time. "No," he said. "I will face them. I want to look these creatures in the eye." The door to his command room burst open. Captain Morgan entered with her weapon raised. Behind her came a dozen Marines, all of them ready to kill. Krathvius stood slowly. He looked at the small human woman with the red hair. She was covered in dust and blood, but her eyes were clear and cold. "I am High Admiral Krathvo," he said. "I command the Draven Imperial Fleet." "I know who you are," said Morgan. "You gave the order to attack the New Hope. You killed 4,000 of our people. They were in our space. They were a threat. They were families. They were children. They were traveling to start new lives on a new world. They threatened no one." Krathvail saw no mercy in her eyes. "What happens now?" Morgan lowered her weapon slightly. "Now you surrender. You call off your fleet. You end this war. And if I refuse, then I kill you, and we find someone else who will surrender." In orbit above, the battle continued to rage. The human fleet had been reduced to 12 ships. They had destroyed over 400 enemy vessels, but it was not enough. More Draven kept coming. Commander Hayes knew they were running out of time. His ships were damaged, his crews exhausted. They had fought harder and longer than anyone could have expected. But sometimes even that was not enough. Then the message came from the surface. Captain Morgan's voice, tired but triumphant. "Commander, the High Admiral has surrendered. He's ordering all Draven forces to stand down." Hayes closed his eyes. For a moment, he could not speak. Around him, his bridge crew began to cheer. "Acknowledge surrender," he finally said. "All ships, cease fire. The war is over." One by one, the Draven warships stopped shooting. They pulled back, forming confused clusters around their planet. They did not know what else to do. The humans had won. The surrender ceremony took place in the Great Hall of the Imperial Palace. It was a room built to impress visitors with Draven power. Giant pillars held up a ceiling covered in gold. Statues of Draven warriors lined the walls, each one a reminder of past conquests. Now the room was filled with human soldiers. Commander Hayes stood at the center of the hall. He had cleaned his uniform for the occasion, but there was no hiding his tiredness. Dark circles surrounded his eyes. His hands trembled slightly when he held them still. Across from him stood High Admiral Krathviel. The Draven leader looked even worse than Hayes. His scales had lost their shine. His eyes held the empty stare of someone who had watched everything he believed in fall apart. "You understand the terms?" asked Hayes. "I understand." Krathvir's voice was flat and defeated. "The Draven fleet will be reduced to defensive vessels only. All weapons research will stop. We will pay compensation to the families of those killed on the New Hope. We will sign treaties recognizing human territory. And you will release all prisoners taken from other species. The empires you built through conquest will be given their freedom." Krathvaya hesitated at this last demand. He had not expected the humans to care about other species. His empire would shrink to almost nothing. "You would free our subjects? Even those who do not want freedom?" Hayes stepped closer to the Draven Admiral. "Every species deserves the right to choose their own path. That's something we believe strongly. You took that choice away from 23 different peoples. Today, we give it back." The surrender documents were signed. The war that had lasted only weeks, but felt like years, was officially over. Captain Morgan watched from the side of the room. She had been awake for 3 days straight, coordinating the occupation of key Draven facilities. Her wounded arm throbbed beneath its bandages. Private Brooks stood beside her. He had aged 10 years in the past few weeks. The young man who had been scared during his first battle was gone. In his place stood a veteran soldier who had seen things he would never forget. "Is it really over?" he asked quietly. "This part is over," said Morgan. "But there's still a lot of work to do. We need to help the freed species rebuild. We need to make sure the Draven keep their promises. And we need to go home and heal. Do you think we did the right thing?" Morgan thought about the question for a long time. The Draven attacked innocent people. They killed families who posed no threat. If we had done nothing, they would have done it again to someone else. So yes, I think we did the right thing, even though the cost was terrible. On the Valorian observation ship, now positioned openly in orbit around Draven Prime, Kethval prepared his final report to the Council. He had witnessed something unprecedented. A young species, barely capable of interstellar travel, had defeated one of the most feared empires in this region of space. "What conclusions have you reached?" asked Miraviz. Kethval looked at the data on his screens. Ships destroyed, lives lost, battles fought. Numbers that told a story of incredible sacrifice and determination. "The humans have changed everything," he said. "Before this war, the other species in this region lived in fear of the Draven. They built their societies around avoiding conflict, around hiding from danger. The humans have shown them another way." "What way?" "Standing up. Fighting back. Refusing to accept that the strong can simply take from the weak. This will inspire others. Species that have been quiet for centuries will start to reconsider their place in the galaxy." Miraviz considered this. That could lead to more wars, more conflict. Yes, but it could also lead to more freedom, more justice. The humans have demonstrated that tyranny can be defeated. That message will spread. And what about the humans themselves? What will they do now? Kethval pulled up images of the human fleet. Only 12 ships remained from the 17 that had arrived at Draven Prime. They were battered and scarred, but they were preparing to go home. They will rebuild. They will heal. And they will remember what they accomplished here. This war has changed them as much as it has changed the Draven. For better or worse, I do not know yet. Humans have shown both great cruelty and great compassion throughout their history. They are capable of terrible destruction, but also remarkable kindness. What happens next depends on which path they choose. Commander Hayes stood alone on the bridge of the Valiant. The ship was quiet now, its surviving crew resting after their long ordeal. Through the viewport, he could see the lights of Draven Prime below. He thought about everything that had happened. The battles fought, the friends lost, the enemies defeated. He thought about Captain Cole, sacrificing himself and his crew in the first moments of the war. He thought about Captain Adams, ramming her ship into the Draven formation. He thought about all the unnamed soldiers who had given their lives for this victory. Was it worth it? He asked himself that question often. The answer was never simple. Lieutenant Santos entered the bridge. "Sir, we're ready to depart. The fleet is assembled." Hayes nodded slowly. "What's our casualty count?" "Final numbers. 5 ships destroyed, 243 dead, over 400 wounded. The ground forces lost 600 soldiers, over 800 humans gone. Each one a life, a family, a story that would never continue. Make sure their names are recorded," said Hayes. "Every single one. They deserve to be remembered." "Already done, sir." Hayes took one last look at the Draven homeworld. They had come here seeking justice for the people of the New Hope. They had found it at a terrible cost. "Take us home," he ordered. The Valiant's engines powered up. One by one, the other ships of the fleet formed up around her. Together, they jumped to faster than light speed, leaving Draven Prime behind. Watching them go, Kethval felt something he had not expected: respect. These humans, so young and fragile compared to ancient species like the Valorians, had done something remarkable. They had faced overwhelming odds and refused to accept defeat. "I want to meet them," he said to Myravis. "I want to talk to them, learn from them. That would break our policy of non-contact." "I know, but I think it's time we reconsidered that policy. The humans have earned the right to know they're not alone in the universe. And we have much to learn from each other." Myravis studied him for a long moment. "You've changed your opinion of them. I've watched them fight and die for each other. I've seen their courage and their sacrifice. I've witnessed them show mercy to a defeated enemy when they could have chosen destruction instead. Yes, my opinion has changed." "Very well. I will bring your recommendation to the council." As the human fleet disappeared into the distance, Kethval allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy had changed. New possibilities had opened up. Whatever came next, it would be shaped by what the humans had done here. They had come as avengers, seeking justice for their murdered families. They would leave as something more. They would leave as a species that the galaxy could no longer ignore. The age of humanity had truly begun.